what's going on in the world today ain't exactly clear. All I know is I can't believe anything that you hear. Vigilant Alaskan, bringing you truth in the last frontier. All right, we are here with Aaron Crook. He is running for city council, Fairbanks. Aaron, how we doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Matt.
Absolutely, not a problem. So, let's see what inspired you to start running for city council? How old were you again? You're
I'm 20 and I'll be 21 2 weeks after the election.
okay, yeah. Get some much needed young blood up in there. Like I said, what got you motivated to run for office?
Well, there was multiple factors. One of the major ones was there's a lot of issues facing the city that a lot of people who run for city council talk about, but then they don't do anything about it when they get elected. And I
Mm,
and I was sick of seeing that. You can't say you're going to work on something and then not work on it when you get voted in. And then if you remember last year after our disastrous municipal showing on the conservative side,
mm,
where we only won the our council seats, I think that was also an eye opener because I decided 5 days after that election that I was going to run
mm,
because one Councilwoman Rogers, who's more on the left side of the aisle, is terming out,
mm,
and right now with the city council, it's three liberals and three conservatives, and
mm.
I want to offset that balance to where it's four conservatives because I
Sure.
think because the mayor's there to be a tiebreaker, and I want to keep
Mm.
it that way.
Yeah, yeah. That is kind of the way it seems it's set up in our city and the borough government. The borough and the council, the assembly and the council kind of pose things, and the mayor has the veto power to, kind of keep things in check. And I think Anchorage is about to run into some real problems with that, where it's just across the board, everyone's thinking the same way, and yeah, definitely important to have that diversity of viewpoint.
Well, that's another fear I have because my campaign motto is leading Fairbanks forward because I want to lead Fairbanks forward for future generations. Because and another reason I'm running, I'm I'm a member of Gen Z. I'm 20 years old. Not a lot
Yeah,
of people in my generation want to get into politics. And so I kind
yeah.
of want to serve as a person to show people that they can get into this and they can help make the difference that they want to see. And
Mhm.
but another thing I tell people, and I told a lot of people this during the fair, is don't Anchorage my Fairbanks. Because
I like that.
if you look at Anchorage government, it's a disaster
Yeah.
because you have nine liberals and then the two conservatives from Eagle River and Chuyak. And if you remember when Representative Allard was on the Anchorage Assembly, it was her against everyone else. It's a
Yeah.
disaster.
Yeah,
Nothing gets done.
yeah, it's
Um,
and then you had Bronson in there, who I thought he was doing the best he could, but again, just is basically just fighting the assembly every time we turn around, and just demonized in the media and everything else when he was, yeah, I
well,
said,
Christopher Constant made it pretty clear on he told everyone what his plan was. If the mayor does something we don't like, we'll vote it down. If he vetoes something that we want, we'll override the veto, and we'll continue to do that.
yeah,
And
yeah, it's
now, they have who they wanted. They wanted Suzanne LaFrance, and now Anchorage. She hasn't even been mayor for 2 months, and Anchorage is already suffering the consequences.
yeah,
Homelessness is up, crime is
it's
up.
yeah, it's gonna be like I said, they're in for a rough go of it, I think, as well. So yeah, and that's really been kind of my motivation too for getting doing what I'm doing on the media side of things, because I really feel like that's one of the main issues across the board, across the country, is that we don't have an honest media, and the news miner is no exception. The yes, the Anchorage paper is no different. They're just basically there to, be the mouthpiece for the politicians and cover for them, instead of actually tell the people what's going on and inform people to make a decision when it comes time instead of. And I don't blame people for not knowing what's going on. It's difficult when you're when you're just given like half truths at every turn from the media. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was funny. I was my campaign coordinator works out of Anchorage, and she
Mm.
sent me this link from a 907 group pack about
Uh,
their version of their voter manual, and so they're recommending that Fairbanks elect Valerie Therian back to the
mm,
city council. And the reason that
mm.
I shouldn't be elected is because I have a history of spreading conspiracy theories, hate speech, and violent extremism.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It made me
You seem like a real violent, hateful guy.
well, well it's
Oh
like,
man, it's such terrible things to say about somebody. Like on I saw something too that was just in the paper about, oh, don't elect these Loa and April Smith to school board because they're Christian nationalists. And like, what does that even mean?
oh
Like,
yeah, Ruben and I got labeled Christian nationalists by the same person. But
yeah.
the difference is the person who called us Christian nationalists lives in Ruben's district. She doesn't live in the city. She's not one of. She wouldn't be one of my constituents.
Mm,
Yet she she has something against me, and I have no idea what it is. I've been dealing with her. I dealt with her when I ran my campaign for the assembly 2 years ago, and I dealt with her last year when I wasn't even a candidate. She came after my jobs, and then this
what?
year she's yeah, like now this year she's back onto my. The funny thing is I'm running against two people. I'm running against Valerie Therian, who's the Democrat, and I'm running
Mm,
against Olivia Rodriguez, who says she's a Republican, but seems to be very, very centrist. She has the backing of Crystal Woman Tidwell,
mm,
who works in the unions. She has the backing of the union. I'm the only candidate in my race not
mm.
endorsed by unions.
Yeah.
Um, and
Hmm.
and then me.
That's
So
tough.
so even though Olivia is a Republican and this lady who lives out in Esther doesn't like Republicans, she's on Olivia's Facebook page being so nice to her. And then when it comes to
Mm.
me, it's I'm a radical, I'm an extremist. I can't serve in a nonpartisan position.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, it's so, I feel like there's a lot of this on the assembly, it's this kind of adopting a national politics strategy and rhetoric and at the local level, and it really doesn't work because, it's like these are people that you see, like, when it's people in DC, you can get away with saying whatever about Marjorie Taylor Greene or these people, but it's like, no, I know this guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and it's again like just such again, they're not like small things to accuse someone of, or like again being they're also vague and don't really mean anything. So it's just again a lot of bluster for. And not really making any points, again, not talking about any kind of policy or anything. Just these generalizations. Oh, he's bad. Like, yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I understand the concept of how our municipals are supposed to be nonpartisan positions,
Mm,
but I will tell you there is only one person serving in the Fairbanks municipal bodies that actually holds themselves to that,
mm,
and that's school board member Melissa Burnett. She is the only person I would consider being. No, her and Shoya Sanderson are the
mm,
only people in municipal government I would classify as acting nonpartisan.
Yeah.
If you look at the assembly, you can really tell where everyone stands.
Yeah.
I think the only person on the assembly you can't really tell where they stand is Mr. Leginas,
Yeah.
because Nick will vote either other way in every other meeting.
I think, actually, I kind of consider myself a pragmatist as well. Like, what makes the most sense? I mean, because there's my personal values and the things but I understand that that's not, I don't expect everyone to agree with that or, abide by that. But, yeah, like I said, that's really what I think it takes too, is because you want to do what makes the most sense and is going to benefit everybody. It's not about, I mean, I don't know, again, a lot of the stuff with the city council and assemblies is all about like budget and finance, so you have to have some pretty core economic stuff that you stick, there's certain economic truths that aren't partisan. So, yeah.
Well, it's like I was talking to Tammy Wilson about this. We could just solve this problem. We both, me and Tammy are both big fans of what they do down in the Matsu area.
Mm.
One, they moved the election to November.
I
Two,
That's a big one.
two, they allow people to put down what their party affiliation is. Because
Mm.
if you walk in a voting booth and there's no party next to anyone, if you're a Republican, because a lot of people don't read the voter manual for municipal elections, they just go in and vote for a name they recognize.
Yeah,
So you could be
it's
a lifelong Republican and then accidentally go in and vote for Kristen Kelly. So,
yeah.
so what I think we need to do is we need to move our elections to November, change the get to where you can put down party affiliation, and then
Mm.
instead of doing 3-year terms, go to an even number, do 4-year terms. I
Why
think
why the four? Why 3 to 4?
because I because with it being four, we would end up having municipal elections every 2 years instead of
Mm.
every single year. Because
Mm.
in the odd even years, people forget. Because
Yeah.
like 2021
Mm.
and
Okay.
2023,
Just to kind
when
of line up with the national, because yeah,
yeah,
that's one thing that would drive turnout big time. And I don't again, this is where they're just feign interest in voter turnout to ram through mail-in ballots because they don't really care about that. Because if they did, they would acknowledge there's plenty of other ways to drive turnout. And again, it's not like just because you get more votes to turn out is not a good thing. You want people to go vote because they actually care and know what they're voting on, not
yeah,
because you can
and
harvest a bunch of mail-in ballots.
well, it's if and plus if we moved to 4-year terms and had the election in November, you'd be
Mm.
voting for your municipal candidates as well as the person you want to be president
Mm.
or who you want to serve you during the midterms. So
Yeah.
people turn out when we have those votes
Yeah.
because
Yeah. No,
for
it's
midterms we always have a congressional seat up and we have either one
mm.
of our Senate seats up, and people
Yeah.
want to turn out and make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that you'd say that about the party affiliation in the municipal election because I always in theory would thought that not having the party affiliation is how I like they should just do away with parties and really just have your policies on like have certain things where they're going to say what each candidate is going to do on a given issue or something like that because people get into this, oh yeah, you're a Republican, so you're gonna vote for the Republican. And like, anymore, these labels, they don't really mean much anymore. I mean, what the difference between Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer is not much, so
Well, and it's funny, I'm a registered Republican. When I first registered though, I'm a former Democrat. I
mm.
I supported Hillary Clinton for president in 2016. And the only reason I didn't support a Democrat in 2020 was because I wasn't going to support Joe Biden.
Yeah,
I
we'll
and
forgive
then
you.
I worked in Juneau this year. So when I moved to Juneau, I switched my party affiliation to nonpartisan.
Yeah.
But people throughout history have done this thing where they tie each idea to a certain political party. So
Mm.
so the purpose of nonpartisanship, in my opinion, is a lot of crap. Because if you
Mm,
think one way, you're still going to be considered a conservative or a liberal. There's
yeah.
because
Uh,
if you are a true nonpartisan in people's minds now, they'll say, "Oh, you're an idiot. You have no opinion. Then you just sit in the corner and
yeah.
shut up."
Well, I mean, you're either like a progressive or a Trump supporter. Like, those are the lines, and so yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Like I said, there's definitely a realignment taking place. It's funny when you see people. You have Dick Cheney supporting Kamala Harris, and then Tulsi Gabbard and RFK are going with Trump. It's like, okay, see this. It's the division is not left and right or liberal and conservative anymore. It's
Well, it's
something
you
else.
know a Kennedy Democrat would be considered a Republican by today's
Yeah,
standards,
yeah, right.
and so I think
Uh-oh. Aaron? Hold on, folks. And God. All right, we're back. So
that
three
would be
things of your campaign centered around were
fiscal responsibility,
Mhm.
revitalizing South Fairbanks, and government transparency.
Mm,
I I think another reason I decided to run this year was the last time we had a young person on the city council was 2006, and that was Senator Kawasaki.
we do have a lot of experience on the council.
He was 30. When he
Mm.
termed out and went to the house.
Yeah, I remember they were like, "Oh, we've got some youth in the Republican leadership. They have a chair who's 59." Like, oh God.
Yeah, no, every single other person that served on that council has been my parents' age. My
Yeah.
mother just turned 56, and my dad 62.
Yeah.
I I'm sorry, and I apologize, but that kind of a lot of younger people don't understand the leadership that's coming from people like that,
Yeah.
and that's why young people are turning away from politics and turning away from
Well,
parties. It's
and I mean, really, it's anyone. I'm a little bit older than you, but in my whole life, all my only view of politics and the government was they're a bunch of corrupt, thieving, scoundrels, and I didn't really pay attention much. And I started to pay attention. I was like, ah, that's basically the correct assessment, and so we don't really have a but the answer to that is transparency, like you were saying. I think that really is the only way for the government to redeem any like again, why would we trust these people? Like
well,
they haven't given us any reason to, and yeah, like I said, if they were to just come clean and open the books on everything, like that's really the only there has to be like a real mea culpa with the federal level for sure, but I don't know that we're ever gonna get that.
Well, I probably never would have gotten into politics. I've been into politics since I was 6. And the only reason I got into it was because when Joe Miller was the Republican nominee in the 2010 Senate election against Senator Murkowski, his
Mm.
wife was my teacher.
Mm.
And so that's how I got involved into politics.
I'm sure there was dirty tricks played, and you were like, "Wait a minute, that's my teacher."
Well, well, I'm there, I'm not an election denier. I'm putting that out there, but there are 2 elections that I will believe for the rest of my life that the person who lost did actually lose, and it's that
Mm,
Senate election. And then I don't believe Tammy Wilson lost the 2008 mayoral election against Luke Hopkins
see, I was
because
not cognizant or paying attention to local stuff at that point at all.
because the margin was so small between them. I don't think it was possible for her to lose that race.
Well, I don't see why it's a controversial statement to accuse anybody of manipulating or rigging an election if they have the ability or capability of doing so. I mean, we're talking, especially when you start talking about president or Senate or I mean, again, we have the most powerful government in the history of the world. When seats come up for grabs, if you think that people are not willing to do anything and everything to acquire that power, you are hopelessly naive.
Well, especially in today, with all these states looking at more alternative ways of voting.
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, they just sent out their mail-in ballots to everyone because
Yeah.
they send out their mail-in ballots 50 days before election day. So there's
Yeah.
no covering or no transparency over these ballots
Yeah,
for
our
50 days.
elections are a mess. I don't know if you're familiar. I think it's called the Voter Integrity Project in New York. They were coming at it from a nonpartisan approach. They weren't saying, oh, this person should have won or that person should have won. They're saying, we don't know who won. And they did an audit and found that there's 4 million duplicate IDs, meaning that and like they don't know who's controlling it. So there's just an entity that has control of 4 million votes that they can do whatever they want with. And that is in the second biggest state in the union. That's kind of a problem.
Not just that. It's when we had the mail-in ballot resolution by Savannah Fletcher here.
Mm,
We everyone told the assembly you can request a mail-in ballot or an absentee ballot, but you have to verify your identity.
hmm. Yeah,
But for
no,
mail,
that's way different than
yeah,
mail-in. Yeah.
and then they do, but they wanted to base it off of Anchorage because that's how Anchorage runs their elections now is
Yeah,
mail.
yeah, and it's been an absolute disaster. And then doesn't end up being any cheaper. It hasn't even increased the turnout, which is mind-boggling, kind of.
And this is the thing, being someone who's more on the conservative side, why I like the Matsu idea. Last year we had 13% turnout, lost every single one of our races. Matsu had 21% turnout, and every single Republican won their race.
Mhm. Yeah, I
I
mean, and
they
the arguments that oh, you just don't want people to vote, and it's like, yeah, like,
No,
okay,
I want people to vote because the people
yeah,
will recognize that
I want
their
people
vote.
that are engaged to vote. I don't want just anybody to vote for voting sake. I don't think that's. All right, unfortunately, Aaron was having some technical difficulties, so I'll go ahead and give you his donation information. If you like what you're hearing and you want to support Aaron Crook for City Council, go to aaronforfairbanks.com. That's Aaron, FOR, Fairbanks.com. Um, and I would follow him on Facebook and Instagram as his main things. Keep an eye out for any upcoming events he's got going on, and go ahead and get out there and support Aaron. Get some of the young blood up in there in city council. We definitely needed more youth representation. Great to see him getting out there and running for office. Right.